Hello and welcome back to Behind the Toys with me, Jacob, aka Jacob's Toys. And today my guest is none other than Hasbro's very own Steve Evans. Hello and thank you very much for tuning in. Steve, thank you very much for joining me today. This is an absolute honor. I'm really pleased to have you here. Obviously, if you are watching the show, please do like, share, subscribe, all of those things. And do check out Steve's account on Instagram, Mr. Stevie18, which is an absolute hoot to follow, I must admit. I've followed it for quite some time now. And there's so much on there, So Steve, where do we start? I suppose for anybody that might not know who you are, why don't you give us a bit of an introduction of sort of who you are and what you do?
Oh, well, that's a big question, Jake. First of all, thank you for inviting me on. It's very nice just to come along and chat about
no problem
stuff and
at all.
nerdy stuff, especially with a fellow Brit. It's nice that
yes,
you'll be able to understand my accent and probably get all my random references that I tend to drop.
Good.
Who am I? What am I? I'm sure there are lots of people who don't know who I am. They're going, "Who's this guy?" I have the honor and the privilege to be the design and development director for Marvel Toys here at Hasbro. That means I look after preschool, the kids stuff, and the Legends collector business as well. All of Marvel for Hasbro. Design and development. Do I do it all? No, I don't do it all. I hardly do anything, to be perfectly frank. I have an incredible team around me. Dwight Stall, as I'm sure many of you know, if you're Marvel Legends fans, he's part of my team, the team. And obviously here we have Ryan as on marketing and then Dan as well as on marketing. And they are the sort of the three pillars that are visible to the outside world. I'm behind the scenes, kind of working on relationships with Marvel and setting up new initiatives and kind of giving a vision of where we want to go for the product line for each and every year. I liken my skill set to being like a conductor. I've used this analogy many times before. And you know me, I'm always analogies. I'm the conductor. I make sure everyone plays their instruments at the right time and we get a really good offering, but put an instrument in my hand, I can't play it. So I'm surrounding myself with incredible talent, and I am just a young lad who's 48, doing his dream job and having a laugh, to be perfectly frank.
And obviously you've been around Hasbro for a while, because obviously before Marvel it was all the Star Wars stuff as well. So it's not like you're kind of new and new on the scene. You've been with Hasbro and one of my other favorite brands as well, Star Wars. So I think that's where I first kind of came across you, kind of on the scene, if you like, when you were with Star Wars, because you came over to Marvel. What was it, about 2018? Was it?
No. I've only been here 2 years. So it was just I joined on my birthday, March 2nd, 2020. So it's just
okay.
Yeah, I remember going in and meeting the team and going, "Hey everyone, I'm Steve." Well, they knew me anyway, but it's like, "Hey Marvel, okay, let's do this. What are we going to do?" And then like a week later, it was lockdown. Everyone was sent home. So we've been managing remotely for like 2 years, doing really well.
See,
go on.
I was going to say that shows how familiar I was with you, and obviously collectors like myself would know who you were, because I thought you'd been with Marvel for longer than that. But that's just obviously the Star Wars in me that recognised you from there.
I'm just always talking. I'm always talking and
never
shutting up. Yeah, on Star Wars from 2014 up until 19. And then we had a little bit, year and a half working in the consumer products department in Hasbro, which is essentially the department that creates style guides and helps other people make products of our brands, Transformers, Power Rangers, things like that. So
it's just,
I dance around a lot.
It just sounds like an amazing job. I'm not going to lie, Steve. It sounds like an amazing job.
It has its stresses. But Jacob, yes, it is my dream job. Always has been, and it's interesting because I'm 48, so it's like I've got another probably 20 years left in me, and it's like, what do you do now? Like you've done Star Wars, you're doing Marvel. It's like, what else do I do? So I have some things in the pipeline that are very collector focused and community focused. I'm trying to be much more engaged with the community on a more official level. But so we'll see how that pans out. But love Hasbro. I love the opportunities they've given me. I've been with them 22 years, 23 years this year.
Wow.
So they allow me to move around and play in lots of different sandpits. So I'm more than happy to keep on playing as long as they let me.
Amazing. And obviously, we spoke briefly before before we officially started, but you most recently hosted the Pulse Premium event, the 1027, where you kind of took us behind the doors and showed us the offices. And I think I even messaged you after and just said, I want to come and work there. It just looked like an incredible place to be. And even though we've had lockdown and stuff, it just looked like a really, I don't know. One of the things I say to my friends when I talk about kind of my collection and stuff like that, the thing about Hasbro is that it feels like it's very much run by people that are interested in the brands and the franchises and stuff like that. It's not just people just doing stuff for the sake of doing a job. It's people that are interested in the things, and I think that comes out in the collections, and in the things that we get as well. So that was a brilliant event to watch. So following the Pulse thing, a lot of comedy in it.
And I will follow up on that. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And it's like, always you talk nicely about your company and all that kind of jazz. But it's like, it's a big company. It's global, but it does have that sort of, I don't know what to call it, like a provincial kind of feel to it. It is sort of like cottage industry. There are teams, there are businesses within the businesses, like the Marvel team. We're all fans, we're all collectors, and we all kind of make choices based on what we really kind of want to do. Obviously, you balance that off with business needs and financial needs and all that jazz. Of course, but there is a heart there, and I know a lot of people see it. A lot of people don't see it, and you don't have to believe me if I tell you. But it's like, like Dwight, for instance. Like, he just lives and breathes Marvel. Just lives and breathes Marvel, and his knowledge of the brand, and his knowledge of action figures and how to construct and how to reuse parts and kind of get efficiencies from stuff. And just, it's incredible. It's incredibly humbling to me, because I come in and I'm like, oh, I'm the big director. It's like, but I'm not. It's like, the team makes it tick. The team gets it done, the engineers. And it is a very kind of like honest and open, a little bit kind of I wouldn't say backwater. That's probably the wrong thing to say, but we're quite natural. There's no airs and graces. There's no airs and graces within the Hasbro rules. I think that's what we're noted for, and I think that benefits us.
Yeah, I think that while we're talking kind of the business side of it, I think one thing that was really, because let's be honest, we've been through a global pandemic. People have shut down and lost jobs and kind of exactly. But one of the things that really seemed to stay strong was the collector side of it. No one really kind of, yes, there were people that obviously sold collections, and some people that jumped in and started collecting because they were at home and they had extra money and stuff. But for me, I've been collecting for quite a long time now. I've been around the Marvel Legends brands since at least 2014 solidly. And that's kind of when I was like, this is where I'm putting my focus. But I've collected right back to sort of the early Toy Biz days. But it was always about conventions for me, and going to conventions. Obviously, here in the UK, we have a number of conventions as well. Nothing like what, you guys have over in the States, like San Diego Comic-Con and stuff like that. But we have got some good conventions, and it was always about going down there, and the guys from Hasbro would come down and Marvel Legends would come down. They'd have their panels, and you'd have that bit where they would kind of reveal the stuff on the panel, and then they would come out and be in the glass cabinets, and we could walk around and take pictures and stuff. So when we kind of locked down, it feels like years and years ago now. But when we locked down and kind of everything happened, there was a lot of kind of buzz in the community of how's that going to happen? What are we going to do? What's going to happen with the San Diego Comic-Con stuff, and the big reveals, and this con exclusive and that con exclusive. But one thing that I think really almost excelled was the way that the teams at Hasbro in particular went digital and did the PulseCon and 1027 and stuff like that. And I think it almost gave us a preferred way of seeing it. Waiting for those fan first Mondays or Thursdays or Fridays or whatever day you choose to do it on. Let's be honest,
every day. Eventually,
at one point it was a particular day, but then it was it's a fan first something today. But I think and it speaks volumes for the guys working at Hasbro, because the communities have completely got behind it and kind of completely bought into it, myself included, because it doesn't just feel like a marketing thing. It doesn't feel like we're just putting this out. It feels like there's people who are excited about something they've developed, who are excited to show the people that are going to obviously buy it and stuff, the consumers. And it's just kind of created this new air of collecting, which is just brilliant to be a part of, I must admit.
The pandemic was a catalyst. We're always looking at like, what are the new mediums or the new social platforms, and the pandemic was definitely a catalyst. We had to do something, because I agree with you. Like, the times that you can connect with people at Comic-Con conventions, whether it's a big one like San Diego or a small one like one in Clacton. It doesn't matter, but like that one-to-one conversation is really, really important. And we're getting somewhere there with the way that we do the live streams, because you're seeing the people that make the product. They're not demonstrators, they're not actors, they're the people that actually do it, and they're talking openly. And I also think, the Marvel team, Dan, Dwight, and Ryan do an incredible job kind of communicating. And it is really important, and it is this new avenue. And I think it's getting that balance of that, but also trying to get that sort of one-to-one stuff, which is why I personally I try and do stuff as much as I can on my social media to sort of answer questions or guide people in the right directions, or even just to encourage, just to say, that's cool, look at that, because that's what you do when you're in San Diego. You get cornered by a fan who's like wants to tell them their life story of collecting, which is fantastic because it gives you great insight. It gives them a connection to the team that are making the things that they love. So I think it's all about balance. It's all about trying to find broadcasting out. I have this analogy. It's like, I don't want us to talk at the community, because that's wrong. I even don't want us to talk to. I want to talk with. I want to talk with the community, and I want us to be part of that community. And we'll use any tool we can. If we can't get in front of people, we'll use any tool we can. So, and there's a team at Hasbro that are really open to change and open to trying new things. And I'm very, very grateful to kind of, connect with them. And we're going to try some new stuff out. I think people will see some new things.
Brilliant.
In a year or so, where we'll try and break those barriers down even more, and really try and connect, because the community is vital.
Definitely. I mean, it goes without saying, the big three, as they're called in the kind of Marvel community, Dan, Dwight, and Ryan, they're great. They're really good at what they do. I was really fortunate, actually, because I was invited to be part of the fan wall at PulseCon. So I was one of the kind of select few that was there and I just sat and watched it, and I was absolutely, it was just a brilliant event to watch, and it was just good fun to actually it felt like we were kind of a step closer to getting back to that kind of convention one-to-one kind of level, and to react and for the guys there to kind of see your reaction. And even though that we were a small number of people compared to the communities, it was great to have that kind of real interaction back again. So that was a good thing. And
that's important. The feedback is important, because we can do our jobs and kind of, there's subjectivity in it. We choose the things we want to do, and we kind of think, oh, we've done really well. But it needs sometimes the feedback to say, that's great, I love that. That wasn't so great. Have you ever thought about that? So I'm very proactive in terms of asking for feedback and getting, I call it breaking it, and my team hate it. Like every time they come up with an incredible idea, like Dwight will kill me. He comes up with a great idea, goes, look at this, it's amazing. We can do this, this, and this. And I go, that's fantastic. Now break it. What's wrong with it? Where's it falling down? And I'm totally British. That's kind of like, I'm totally the British attitude. And he's like, and you'll find things and we'll improve it. Now, is everything we do absolutely perfect? No. Not at all. Like perfection doesn't really exist. Maybe only in nature. But that's just one of the principles that we do going forward, is improvement and review and. I can, and there's nothing, there's no reason for me to kind of say how amazing everything is at Hasbro Marvel Legends and stuff. But the improvement I've seen, even just since I really kind of jumped in heavy in 2014, even just then, the improvement to kind of some of the figures that we're getting now, even just things like the photoreal technology and the pinless tech and stuff like that. Like it really is, it's just going to a whole different level. So, keep it up. Not that you need my seal of approval, but it's good. Thank you.
So that's all right. While we're talking about engagement, because obviously, Instagram is a great tool. That's how I personally connected with the likes of Ryan, like the likes of Dan, the likes of yourself, and various others as well. But your Instagrams, what I think is really refreshing about it is that it's not a marketing tool. It's not all Marvel. Like your collection is insane. Let's be honest. It's just how did you? Because for me, a little bit of my OCD is that I collected various different brands for a long time. For me, it was, to give you an idea, I'm not just sort of some mega fan that's like, I need all the plastic figures. For me, it was comic books. I read comic books, and then they became too, there was too many, and then obviously it went online and stuff like that. And then I kind of stumbled across the Marvel Legends brand. I think it was actually back in the Toy Biz days, and I was like, wow, this is not only kind of an action figure like the ones that I had as a kid, but also a really good representation of what I loved in the comic books. And it just kind of grew from there. And then you become an adult with adult money, and it's like 10 of those figures, I'll have them. Thanks so much. But your collection's really unique, I think, because it's quite retro. Let's be honest. There's a lot of things there, and you share it all on your Instagram, so it does cross over all different brands and properties and stuff like that. I think one of my favorite memories of some of your videos is that, was it ET? I think it was, and you opened up a packet of trading cards and ate the bubble gum from like 1985 or something.
It was this biscuit. I'm not going to eat it again, but yeah, it was these. I used to go when I used to live in Thorpe-le-Soken near Clacton. We're referencing Clacton many times today.
There we go.
I used to go down to Lipton's, which is a local supermarket. I used to buy these horrible cola flavored biscuits. They were green, orange, and brown, and inside was a card. I won't get that one out. And it was my first sort of collecting. I remember collecting all 12 cards. I spent so much of my pocket money on this, and I've been looking for a packet of these because you can't see it. Oh, you can. It's sort of silver.
We can see.
I'm like a magpie. Anything silver I love. And I found one on eBay, and it was sealed, and I opened it, and that was the biscuit. And I'm not going to eat it. Like battery acid. But yeah, that's probably one of my most unusual kind of pieces of memorabilia. But that evokes, I'm salivating, not because I like that, but I'm remembering going to Lipton's with my £1.50 pocket money, which was quite a lot back then, I think, actually, in like 1982, and buying these and trying to get the cards and eating the cola biscuits. And so that's my collection is, and I call them memory shelves, these little memory pots. Each one is a separate time period or brand that I loved. I was big on Star Wars, E.T., Indiana Jones, Peter Pan, Smurfs, Play People, Superman. So each one is full of stories. So that's
stories. Is that the Ghostbuster firehouse that you got there in the middle?
It is. I can do this two ways. I can either zoom in. There you go. Yeah, I'll put you in focus. So so this one here is like, I was too old for Ghostbusters and Batman. So real Ghostbusters, what was that, 86, I want to say. There's Thundercats, Ghostbusters, He-Man, and then Batman later, 89. But I used to babysit a couple of kids, Andrew and Christopher, back in the day, and they had all of it. So I used to like toys, but I was 16, I was 13, 14, 15. I was like, I'm a bit too old for this, but I liked it. And that was where I sort of started understanding Kenner, because I noticed that it was the same brand. I was like, oh, Kenner, they used to do my Star Wars figures when I was little. I'll come back in focus. And so I started noticing what Kenner was, and that there were different brands that did different things. So that's kind of my affiliation with Kenner. But
the reason I ask is because, bizarrely enough, I was talking about that today with both of my sons. Actually, my youngest is 2. He's just turning 3. And interestingly enough, bring it back to Hasbro. But one of the things that he was adamant he wanted was the Maximum Venom figure that had the ooze, the pot of ooze with it. You know the one I'm talking about.
Of course I do. Yeah.
And he was adamant, and that was what he wanted. And because of YouTube videos, he had seen it and looked everywhere, couldn't find it. Finally got one in Colchester. There we go. Funny enough, bringing it back to references, but in Colchester. So we went and got it. And as soon as he opened that pot of ooze and we started playing on it, it took me right back to having the Ghostbuster firehouse. And I was like, it can't be the same stuff. Like, surely the stuff in the 80s was some kind of radioactive, let's be honest. But it was, health and safety in comparison. But straight away, I was like, this is a real kind of nostalgic jump for me, because when I was around his age, I was doing the same thing with a different toy, and all these years later, we're still doing it, but just in different ways. And it was just, so it's really interesting. I just spotted that bang in the middle there. But
yeah, some things change and some things don't change. The play patterns of children as they learn and develop, boy, girl, whatever, doesn't change that much. The context around it changes a little bit, but kids love to get mucky. They love it.
Yeah. Oh,
parents hate it. They love to drop things, throw things fall down. They love to, put things in things to make things move. So play pats haven't really changed that much over the course of history, to be honest with you.
No,
but,
I must say, like, one thing, when we opened that Hasbro, we opened that that Venom toy, and I got the tub out, and I was like, Hasbro, you have not given us enough ooze here. this pot of ooze is not going to last long. I know it's not. So we did have to get him some more because, being 3, it was like straight away, you're venomized. I was like, well, there goes Ruse. Let's be honest. Like, you have to get some more there. But he loves it. He absolutely loved it. So memory shelves. So, okay, what's your favorite pot? What if you had to pick one? It's hard, isn't it?
Oh my God, a gun against my head.
If you had to pick one to kind of, I don't know, say you're running out the house, you had enough time to grab one shelf. Come on, what would it be? And you can cover the ears of the other shelves so they don't feel hurt. But if there was one, what one do you think holds a significant? Or I'd say, well, let's use terminology.
I can answer.
Community. Okay.
Just to make this clear, again, context of like all this stuff behind me, most of it is rebought. So I bought my Star Wars figures in kind of like early 90s, mid 90s. After I played with it, I went and bought a whole load and found a load. And I used to buy and sell. I went to the university down in Brighton, which is probably the epicenter of collectors and antiques and car boot sales and things back in the time. There were 2 stores in Brighton that sold Star Wars figures, right? Get that. And comic stores galore and all that kind of stuff. So I bought and sold, and I had my own company, Moss Eisley Imports. I've still got my little card here. Moss Eisley Imports. There we are. I used to hand make these little business cards. So they're from the 90s, bought in the 90s, but everything else is kind of rebought, apart from one toy. I've got one toy that if I had to grab to take with me, I would. And none of you are going to know what it is because it's so weird. But when I was two, I used to live in Canada, and I got bought a farm set when I was little. And in that farm set, this is going to get very random.
Oh, wow.
It was a blue puppy dog. A blue puppy dog that had a tail. And that tail broke because I used to chew it. So I've had this dog and this tiny end tip of the tail. Oh God, dropped it. I've had that 46 years.
Wow.
And that would be the thing I'd have to grab because it's the only genuinely, like proper genuine thing that is of the time. So that's what I'd grab, Jacob. And I'd let everything else melt. Because I just
leave it all.
I'd let my Star Wars figures melt. I'd let my Yak face melt. I'd let my Mark Boudreau signed Imperial tank melt. I'd let all my Hasbro stuff, all my ET biscuits, my Starbird, my Indiana Jones, my Belloc ceremonial. I'd let it all burn.
Hold on to that dog. It's interesting, actually. Interesting you talk about the Star Wars there as well, because I had a breakdown moment with my mother-in-law recently, because my brother-in-law is 2 years older than me, and my mother-in-law's a childminder, so she's very good at keeping toys in good condition because obviously they're going to be played with by the next person and all the rest of it. And she had the entire, like the Millennium Falcon, all of the original released figures that were my brother-in-law's, under the bed in a box, like in original boxes and stuff like that.
What?
And as I got to, married into the family and everything like that, we're talking about collections, and I was showing her some of mine. She was like, "Oh, what about Star Wars? Star Wars thing?" Because I had all these that belonged to brother-in-law and stuff, but I gave them away, and I was like, "You what?" yeah, I gave them to one of my friends' boys, and I was like, no way, like that's like, and I could just imagine the pristine like condition that they would have been in. But hey ho, you do miss it, don't you? It's funny actually, because last time I did the Geek Week, we were talking about the retro line, which we'll talk about at some point, and I said that this was one of my original figures. So this is like the Secret Wars kind of Spider-Man, and he's worn out and he's he's kind of wobbly. but he's still there. He's still on my shelf because, you know, because my friend Ryan is a big collector of the retro kind of 3/4 inch line, and all of mine are 6 inch, except for my original Spider-Man that's just a little bit shorter, sort of more to the 4 inches maybe. So would you say that the blue dog is obviously the one that you would hold on? Have you got a Grail figure? Is there, or a Grail item in your collection that's something that you chased for a long time and finally got your hands on, or a Grail that you're still chasing?
I've got a few. So I've got some things that obviously I've been privileged enough to be able to get hold of that no one else will have. Like I've got the Chewbacca employee gift that was given out to all the employees. Black Series. I've got that. I've got the barge. I'll do this. I've got the barge signed by everybody that was on the team. I've got Mark Boudreau signing stuff. I've got misprints and things like that. I've got, and this is Star Wars stuff. So I got the original mock-up that I made for when we brought the TVC back. You know, I've got.
Wow!
But I guess. Oh, Grail. I tell you what I am after at the moment that is difficult to get hold of or expensive to get hold of, and that is, I used to love, do you remember the old Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings 1978 animation movie? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I'll pull that into focus. So I've got like Aragorn and I've got Gollum, and I like things loose mostly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm after Gandalf, Sam, and Frodo, and the Ring Wraith with the steed. But these are like super duper expensive. So I didn't actually know these existed until probably about 8 years ago. Knickerbocker made them in 1979. Movie was in 78. So these things, I love this movie. It terrified me as a child. So there's Lord of the Rings figures by Knickerbocker, 1979. If you've got any lying around underneath your bed, ask your mother-in-law. And
I'll have a chat.
I would gladly give her some decent money for that.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
That's a Grail. That's my after. I've got all the Indiana Jones stuff.
It's interesting though, because there are so many things kind of in your collection that people would class as kind of Grail items, and you know, because of the fortunate position that you're in, you've been able to pick up certain things. So it is an amazing collection. I'm sure it's you as well. Did you share the Han Solo, the Greyhead Han Solo? Was it you that shared that? Yeah.
You want to see that?
Hey, I've seen the video, but grab him because if he's available.
He is. He's just down here. So we obviously we did Force Awakens. I can't go into too much of a story on this. I'd love to, but I can't. Put him into focus. So Greyhead Han Solo. This is probably the only thing I'll actually keep in pack, to be honest with you. I would open it, and I could open it on air now, but I can't, only because box is number 18, and I'll tell you the story behind that. So we did Force Awakens Han Solo. He had browner hair on the original release. And when you release a wave, you'll know this. You release a wave, it goes out, it sells. And if stores want to reorder that wave, they can reorder it back. And any running changes or corrections to or adaptations to the figure then comes out in a later wave, or comes out in the same wave, they can reorder. So we realized that the hair wasn't quite right after we saw the movies, and we all agreed with Lucasfilm that we should make the gray one. So we made this gray hair one, but it was only really available if people reordered that wave, which they didn't, because figures were coming out 6 to a dozen.
Yeah.
So I got one of these as a sort of a production, not even a sample. This is actual production one, and so I've kept it because no one reordered it that I know of. So this is super rare. And the other thing is 18, which is the Evans family special number. So when I was very little in Canada with my blue dog, my mum and my dad used to say, "How much do you love us?" And the biggest number I could think of was 18. So 18 for the Evans family is our sort of magical kind of special loving number. My kids say, "I love you, 18." We sign cards, 18. And my father sadly passed away of cancer just before I got the Star Wars job, which he knew was my biggest dream. So when I got when I got that and it was 18, that's in honor of my dad, and
it's got to be kept, hasn't it? And got to be kept. I just think I think I could literally sit here and talk to you about the stuff in your collection all day. Like I really could, but it's just exactly. Like there's no time difference here. It's not late in the UK, but I think that for anybody who is watching, to hone in on your Instagram, because you really do go into detail of all your bits and pieces, and you do. Let me see if I get this right. It's Tall Toy Tales, isn't it? That's your branded thing. And you kind of go into detail on particular shelves and particular, board games and stuff like that. And it is a great watch. It really is a great watch, especially for collectors, because I'm an out of box collector as well myself. So, it doesn't bother me seeing things loose. I like things loose. I like being able to not necessarily play with them. That's the wrong term to use at my age, but it is a case of, posing them or photographing them or customizing them, doing all those kind of things that, getting them out of the box and doing that with them.
Absolutely. Let them breathe.
I've got to focus. Yeah. Oh yeah. Cause you did the t-shirts, didn't you? You did the t-shirt designs.
Let them breathe.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I need to get myself one. I am going to get one, but I know you did like a run of them, and I couldn't, because of where I am compared to where they were. Can I still get them?
If you go onto my bio link, you can still buy them. Originally those t-shirts were like a secret entry into a unique club which we've set up called the Pleb, Patrons of the Let 'Em Breathe Society. Everyone that bought that t-shirt when I originally did it, all the proceeds went to Save the Children Fund, and everyone that bought them, there was 44 people that bought them, so not a lot of people. And I went back to them, I said, you are now in a club, you are now in the Let 'Em Breathe Society. And I sent them like a little sticker, they got a little pin, and we brilliant. Our intention is to do sort of charity-esque kind of thing. So we recently did one on my Instagram. Everyone, it was 12 of us, did the great big holiday giveaway. I
saw that, yeah.
So we gave product away and raised, some money for not for charity, but we gave product away to young collectors to kind of kickstart their collection. So, yes. You can still get the t-shirts if you want to.
Well, I'm going to go on and get it. This is where I misread it, because I thought that it was just that initial run, and because I missed out on it, but I will get it. I'll have one on one of my shows.
But if you buy it, you're not in the club.
I'm not in the club. Steve, I'm happy with that. Like, that's fine. I didn't make the cut at the time. It's absolutely fine. But I will rock one of those t-shirts on one of my shows, definitely at one point.
We will invite more people into the club, though, I'm sure.
I feel I'm in the playground again. I'm in the playground. I just want to be part of the club. But talking about the giveaways and stuff, that's a really nice lead in as well, because one of the things that really made you sort of stand out to me as kind of somebody on social media is that when it was the Razor Crest and the Sentinel came out, you were just giving one away, and it wasn't just kind of who can like this the most or who can share this, like that. A lot of kind of social media channels do giveaways, and they kind of go, like this, share this, tag 10 people, and this kind of, and we'll send you this. But you were doing a giveaway for a huge item, and an item that not a lot of people could purchase themselves, but not a lot of people. There were people that couldn't, and you were giving one away, and you were looking for the most deserving kind of person, weren't you? And I can't remember the exact kind of terminology used, but basically who is it that deserves this? And you were giving it away out of your own pocket, I believe, as well. It wasn't like a Hasbro official thing. It was you
it's my own.
Buying one.
I bought it. And
and I just thought that was like an incredible, when you were talking earlier about kind of connecting with the community and stuff, I just, I've got to take this opportunity to say to your face that, I think that was an amazing thing to do. And I think if more people could kind of follow in that line, because what an amazing gift as well to a new collector or a young collector to kind of get this item that everyone's going to want. And I got the Sentinel, I'm not going to lie, mine turned up, and it is an incredible piece of kit. But to have that turn up on your doorstep, and you've just been given that by this guy at Hasbro, because I just think it's amazing.
I'm trying, and I'm going to loop this beautifully around. I'm trying to work out a way to give as many collectors, young collectors specifically, or deserving, such a weird word, collectors, their own blue dog. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give them something that is just like, I remember this. Oh, remember, like in 30 years' time, looking back, the young lad picked up Sentinel. There was Ephraim won the Sentinel, and he had problems with his eye, and he had his eye removed. But he draws like incredible. He draws right up to the paper, and he doesn't stop, and he keeps drawing, he keeps collecting, he keeps creating. So he got a Sentinel, and it's like 30 years' time, I want him to look back on that and go, I remember that. That was so cool, because I want him to be a collector forever. And we need to expand the community and keep it thriving and alive. So that's kind of what I
Yeah, I just thought it was a wonderful gesture. I really did. I thought it was such a nice, to see somebody in a position like yourselves to do something away from the company, but with the products, and and there was such a buzz about the Sentinel, especially here in the UK, because obviously at the time of it being announced, it wasn't available to us in the UK. There was this whole panic for a little while where we were like, they've shown us this thing, where do I push the button? And I do a lot with Zavvi as well, Zavvi UK. Like, they send me products and do reviews and stuff. I've got a really good relationship with them, so I don't actually have that much bad to say about them. But there are a lot of collectors here in the UK that as soon as you mention Zavvi, they go, "Whoa, hang on, this isn't good," because things got lost or pre-orders have been. So as soon as Hasbro said, we're going to give you the Sentinel and it's coming through Zavvi, like, people are like, no, this is bittersweet. But they came, they shipped out, they turned up, and it was a great process to be involved in, like, and to kind of watch develop, because it just went from strength to strength and just ended up being. And for me as a collector, I'm really pleased that I was involved in that process, because I think it's something that people are going to talk about for quite some time, even though there are more HasLabs and whatnot coming out all the time. The Sentinel, for me, when it comes to Marvel, was something really significant.
That's cool. And it's a story, the way we do it with the HasLabs and things. It's an event, it's a journey, it's a story. There are ups, of course, and so it's so much, to me, it's so potentially so much more meaningful than just grabbing something off the shelf. So that's what drives me. That's what drives me day in, day out. Like, how do we make this a story? How do we make this meaningful? How do we involve the community in either the decision making or sharing? And there's a lot more to do. And the stuff that I'm kind of working on at the moment, where I'm going to try and make that happen a little bit more. But and I'm not sort of just blowing smoke. The community is incredibly important to me personally, and I know the Marvel team, and the Star Wars team, everyone. We're trying to connect properly, and we're trying to, share stuff, because we're all part of the community. It's like, you say I give stuff away. I don't really. I do, but it's like a swap. It's like, this community has given me the impetus to get all this stuff, which has therefore made me rediscover incredible feelings and memories and stories from my childhood, and to be able to share it with people that give a damn or can swap stories back is incredibly therapeutic to me over a period, especially the last couple of years of not hardship, but like, it's difficult for everyone, right? And you mentioned how people carried on collecting, and I have a theory, and I call it the ABCs of collecting. I think collecting gives us a sense of achievement. We can achieve things. We can set our grails and get them, and it's like a sense of achievement. B, belonging, which is incredibly important for us as human beings. We need to be able to belong. There's a community out there, and we can belong to it. And then C is this idea of control. It's the idea of, like, that is my thing. I decide what to collect. I decide what to get, what not to get. I decide how to put them out on the shelf. You decided to keep your Secret Wars Spidey. And in this world where a lot of things seemingly are out of our control and happening at a crazy pace, and things are going weird and wonderful, and they've done it forever, but to be able to ABC and control our collections is what I think is central to what a collector is. And I may be wrong, I may be right, but that sort of psychology interests me as well. If I can't physically go and design stuff, I'm interested in the reasons why. So I got deep very quick, didn't it?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, though. I think there is a lot there. I mean, for me, it is all about the journey. As I said, I mean, as a kid, you mentioned boot sales earlier. Being a fellow Brit, you remember the boot sales, the kind of flea markets, aren't they, over in the States? But I used to go with my grandma, and there was literally I've told this story a couple of times, but there was a guy there that was the comic guy, and he would sell what he classed as American comics. So they were your standard American comics that you didn't get on the shelf here in the UK, and he sold like 5 for £1 or whatever, and none of them matched. They weren't stories. You couldn't pick up parts 1 to 5 of West Coast Avengers or something. It would be literally part 3 of 5, and and then something completely different. But I was introduced to these characters that ordinarily I never would have come across, like West Coast Avengers, especially recently with the Vision and the Scarlet Witch retro card. As soon as I saw those boxes, I was like, yes, like, it took me straight back to those comic books. But that's where it started for me. So kind of coming across all of these kind of characters when I was younger, reading about them and that lot. for me, it was a physical representation and collecting them. And now with children my own, 2 boys and 2 girls, but my boys are really into Marvel, Star Wars, and all that kind of stuff, especially with Disney Plus and all the shows that are on and stuff. Like, they want to, my 2-year-old was watching Book of Boba Fett with me the other day and wanted to put it back on when it finished. It was like, can we watch that again? We went to the beach today and he was like, I think we'll play that Boba Fett's in his tummy. And it's like, we're talking Sarlacc pit, right? Come on, let's dig a hole. But they come here into my this is my home office, and they point out, I want this one, I want that one. And my eldest son actually just picked up his first 2 Marvel Legends from the store the other day as well, which I was really chuffed about. But yeah, it's all about the journey and the kind of full circle. And so I kind of justify my collecting. So I'm like, this is nostalgic for me, but it's also kind of passing the torch in that element as well. And I'm just a massive geek.
It's important.
So speak about Marvel Legends. What are we getting next year? Come on, tell us all the waves. No, mate, I wouldn't do that.
Well, there's going to be more than 100 figures. I can tell you that.
It's
next year's a big one. What we got? We got Multiverse of Madness. We got Love and Thunder, Spider-Verse New. We got Wakanda Forever. We got Moon Knight.
There's lots.
Moon Knight. I'm really excited for Moon Knight.
There's a lot coming out. There really is. It's I just think it's and the great thing about Hasbro is that they give us those figures. We know that it's going to be a big year for Spider-Man. Let's be honest. 2022. You've got the 20th anniversary of Sam Raimi. You've got I think it's the 80th anniversary of Spider-Man himself. 60th, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I expect good things on
all
that.
This stuff, Spider-Man.
Exactly. Just on the 60th. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's really interesting. It's really cool. It's really different. I love it. The guys.
So there is something coming for the 60th. Is this a little bit of a
like? Do we do anniversary stuff? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Would we not do Spider-Man? Something for Spider-Man?
No. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to try to trick you into saying something. But on that note, tell me more. No. On that note, the anniversary stuff has been some of my favorite stuff in recent years. The Infinity Saga stuff, the 80th anniversary stuff. Like, they were just brilliant from packaging to product. Like, they were just really, really cool figures. And especially when you've kind of been collecting for a while. Don't get me wrong, there are some figures that come out and you just think, I held on to that one for ages, and you've now reissued it and there's a better version out there that's made my one not quite as good. But I can also see the development, and for collectors that can't get hold of those things, I think at some point you have to do a Dark Phoenix. That she's got to come back. I mean, I've got the original Toys R Us one, but so many people are after that. And one thing that I really dislike about collecting is the scalper inside of it, where somebody has something that they know people will pay big bucks for. And I think that Hasbro are doing a really good job in kind of dousing that fire, because Rogue, for example, the Jim Lee style Rogue went for stupid money, absolute stupid money. And then all of a sudden you were like, I think it was Ryan or Dan that said that you won't necessarily do an exact repackage of something. There'll always be something a little bit different about the repackage, about the re-release, but essentially give us those characters again. So for collectors like myself that have got that original one, we're kind of like, we can hold on to this because there is that thing that's different. But for new collectors, they're not having to go through the scalpers and and I think that's a really nice touch from Hasbro.
Yeah, and I think the Marvel team in particular, and Star Wars do it too. The Marvel team has a nice deft touch at doing that, because I don't like when people have to spend lots of money to a third party to get stuff. I can't find that. I understand it, and I've been a collector for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I get it, but it's nice when you can kind of alleviate that, and it sometimes we have discussions like, okay, what's going for crazy money? Hey, can we bring that back? Does it make sense with the stuff that's coming out, with the entertainment that's coming out? And like, how do we tweak it and change it? Sometimes we'll do a figure and it was based on concept art, and the movie comes out, it's completely different, and we're like, oh, we'll update it. And so we update, we re-release, we kind of like, because it's so vast. Yeah, we try and make the right decisions on what we release against many different factors. Sometimes we get it very right. Hopefully we don't often get it very wrong, but sometimes, people, they're subjective. So it's like,
of course,
the best thing ever. So
yeah, but that's it for No, and for everything that comes out, there's always going to be a group of people that kind of, oh, well, that boot isn't quite high enough, or that shoulder pad wasn't quite long. And it's like, come on, like, let's be honest. We're living in this golden age of, like, you know, we can have these physical representation of, you know, not only just Marvel, but, you know, you look at all the other properties, things like He-Man, we're getting back on the shelves, you know, we're getting, like, Jurassic Park is back on the shelves, you know, and for people that were of an age where Jurassic Park came out, the figures weren't the quality of the figures now, but you can get those things, you know. Ghostbusters, another one of Hasbro's, you know, with all the new films and the new products, you know, so you can get those things again, which is great. So let's not concentrate too much on the height of a boot or the, you know. I'm just pleased to be able to have it. I didn't have a huge amount of money growing up, so I remember, you know, action figures for me was that, you know, you go into Toys R Us, Turtles were big at one point, and you'd pick up a you know, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and you flip the box around and there would be all the pictures on the back, and I'd just be like, how am I going to buy 10-foot soldier figures? Like, come on, I can't afford, you know, I need 10 of them, but I can't afford. So for me, it's more a case of that I'm just very fortunate to be in a position where I can collect what I collect. And so I'm just pleased that if I can get a representation of that character, happy days, they go on my shelf.
Yeah,
and I know that you guys will.
It's a good time. It's a good time to be a action figure toy collector, you know, with the people that are out there in the market doing stuff. There are small companies that are doing some really interesting stuff, you know, and the whole fact that, you know, retro as a trend, as a global trend is back. And so we're getting a lot of those kind of things. You know, it again harkens back to that sort of ABC, that control, this kind of like crazy world we're in. Retro, the trend soaking through many different industries, whether it's the toy industry, the fashion industry, the automotive industry, it's everywhere. And it's there for a psychological reason. And it's like, especially for us as older, I'm 48, you know, older toy collectors, it's great, because now it's like, hey, can we do this old retro thing again? Yeah, that's great. It makes business sense and it makes emotional sense. So that's perfect. I'm like pig in muck.
Well, like Spider-Man, you know, just to kind of, you know, rounding out, you know, coming to a close, but obviously Spider-Man, we spoke about him already. There's a huge retro Spider-Man kit going on at Marvel Legends at the moment. You know, you've got that stunning kind of retro carded. There's a few recommendations if you want, you know, some characters to focus on. I'll fire those over to you, but you would have heard.
Tell me right now.
You know that there's a couple. I'd love to see a Spider Slayer. I'm just saying, you know, Dr. Octopus from the animated series. You know, maybe a Smythe as well. You know, then the wheelchair with the big things. You know, there's. I'll send you a list.
Good.
But yeah, it's great. It's great to just have a you know, to be in this kind of, in this position to kind of pick something up new that reminds us of something old. I think that's a wonderful stage to be in as a collector. Morbius as well. Animated Morbius. That would be, you see, Ash is there. He's just straight away get that.
I'll write down for you, Ash. There we go.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? How do you spell it?
It's on there. But yeah, so all right then. Well, what we'll do, Steve, is we'll round up here. Obviously you're going to join us on the Geek Week in review as well, so we will talk then. So obviously thank you very much for joining me on the behind the toys. It's just felt like more of a chat, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it's great. You know, I hope that anybody watching has kind of picked something up. If you are watching and you don't follow Steve's Instagram already, then do go and check him out. It's at Mr. Stevie 18 over on Instagram, and it really is it's one of my favorite accounts. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. It's just so varied. It's Steve, I think that the Thundercats reel in itself should gain you untold followers. Just that reel in itself was amazing. But no, or go back and watch him eat biscuits from 1970?
1982. 40 years old. If you want to see a middle-aged man eat a 40-year-old biscuit or cookie, then go check out E.T. I think it's episode 1 of Mr. Stevie's
Is it really?
Four Toy Tales. Yeah, I've only done 6. So it's no big deal. But
so No, but it's a great account to follow, so do go and check him out. And obviously, if you are watching, then please do like, share, subscribe, all of those things. But Steve, I'll catch you over on the Geek Week in review with Super Sorrel and Ryan Speaks Geek very soon. But thank you ever so much for joining me. It really was an absolute pleasure, and I can't thank you enough. So
thank you very much. Lovely to finally meet you, and you want to chat again anytime, I'm more than happy to
massively appreciate it.
I could just do this for another 3 hours, so that's cool.
Yeah. Take care of yourself.
All right, man. Thank you.